Hi, guys. This is Ali Baqir Khan with another episode of Youth Alumni Association. Today, we've got Nwabisa Nobatana with us from all the way from South Africa. She's joining in. So first of all, thank you so much, Nwabisa. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good as well. Can't complain. Just here to help people out in knowing,
Yeah.
regarding their career. So you've been a social
Mm.
activist. That's the kind of discussion that we guys were having. And
Mm.
apart from that, when it comes to if someone wants to pursue a career in HR or anything like that, you can, help them out. But let's just discuss about your personality. Let's talk about your childhood when you were a child. What did you want to become? What sort of activities were you into? Can you please throw some light upon that aspect? We want to know who
I'm laughing.
Nobisa is first.
I'm laughing because I'm still figuring it out. But
Everyone is,
when
trust me,
you
everyone is figuring it out. But
yeah, but I
still,
can touch on based on who's Robisa. Robisa Novatana is from East London. Was born in Tanzania, which is we call informal area, or it's well, it's one of the biggest townships in South Africa, second biggest one to
okay,
Soweto. So I'm born there. My parents stayed there. I was very fortunate that my dad was working in sales for an oil company, so my childhood was very nice, I must say. When I was growing up, when I was young, he afforded us to go to good schools, and gave it, and to that we got to move and get exposed from the little town of the Eastern Cape, East London. We got moved to Cape Town, where when we got to Cape Town, my sister and I basically got to get more exposure and more insights on stuff. And I mean, bigger city, you get more advantages. I think when we got there, funny enough, Ayanda was actually on an ad for one of the biggest insurance companies. We got picked up at school for doing ads, and then we'd go to castings and stuff, and we were those kids. Also, at the same time, we were quite good at sports. I don't know if it's genetically because my mom and dad were always involved in sports. I was good at swimming, which was a new one for the family, but my dad was more of a rugby player. I was also quite good at, not quite good, but I was good at netball. So I would play netball in winter, and in summer I would do swimming. And
great.
when you get older, yeah. But then I got a little bit older. I stopped the swimming, but I continued with the netball. It's always
Okay.
been a passion of my life. But yeah, that's basically who Novisa is
Is the
and what
netball the
she's all about.
volleyball thing that you're talking about? The one that you hit like this with two hands and
No,
play on the beach?
no.
What's
Netball
the
is the one
difference?
you grab the ball and you put it inside the net. That is the one with the center and it moves down. It's mainly played, I think, in it's a sport that is based in Europe, in London. They were the ones who came up with it, and then it's quite big in New Zealand, and it's actually the women female version of rugby for females. But now we don't base anything in sports anymore because everything is for everybody. Because now we got guys playing netball,
I see.
so
I see.
the country has changed. I mean, it's
So
evolved
you
in the
started
world.
off as, I mean, in your early childhood, you were into a lot of activities. I mean, like sports, talking about different ads that you're talking about that Ayanda and, you guys used to go ahead and, do those things. So today, the topic of our discussion is going to be more about, how to build entrepreneurs. So, I mean,
Mm,
in Pakistan, I've been speaking to different people here, globally, people in US, Canada, UAE, Egypt, and even in South Africa, So, what can you throw some light upon this aspect and how, do you think can this mindset that's going to be the ideal mindset, of becoming an entrepreneur? How should we just,
mm.
go ahead and focus more on that instead of just following a track that everyone is? And do you think is that going to be fruitful? Is that going to help us out globally to get more return on investment, or as a whatever your goals are associated like? So can you explain a little bit about that part?
I mean, in South Africa, we've got one of the highest rates of youth unemployment, right? So we're sitting in a place where we want to create jobs, and we need to, and actually the government actually tries their best to push entrepreneurship, and a lot of private sectors are also pushing that you
Uh-huh.
should try and think out of the box and be entrepreneur. The
Hmm.
challenges that we have is that people in in our country is that we cannot afford to go for basic education or anything out there to equip. But with technology, a lot of education is on your phone. You can go on YouTube and get a course. You can go on an online course on Udemy and you subscribe and stuff. But I guess, again, it goes back to financial resources. You know, you need resources for that. And I think that is our biggest biggest problem that we have in our country is resources. We don't have enough internet spaces. There are libraries, and libraries are now, I feel, not to say they kind of outdated because everything has gone digital, right? So I think we've got those stuff and we can back up. But I mean, I think people are just trying themselves. If we can just get financial boost in our technology, I think our kids and our future will do better in the youth. And getting, if we could look at maybe freeing Wi-Fi, for instance, a big company investing in that. I think you'll see because we've got a quite inquisitive youth. People want to learn, and watching videos and stuff as much as they're doing TikTok. But there is an element of an educational piece of whatever you're doing in your space. So so I think for me, I've been very I haven't got it right. I'm not perfect, but I have been trying to help those that I know who come to me and say, Nwabisa, I'm looking for a job. I would help them to go through. And then in creating jobs, I mean, really, the power is the internet again. There's a guy I met a couple of years ago who started off his name is AK Fitness. His full name is actually Ayanda Katla, and his business is called AK Fitness. That guy inspired me. He started off as doing online workouts during lockdown, which evolved to everybody just logging on to Instagram and watching his lives. That spread, and then he's created a wing for himself. He now does sessions in our community base here in Cape Town called Kwalanga, where he's doing fitness for people and at an affordable rate. It's not. It's 50 Rand a pop-up session, which in South Africa, 50 Rand is absolutely nothing. Where if you go to a suburb, a person who's doing the same workout, same thing, it's costing about, you're paying 300 Rand membership per week, per lesson. This guy's cut it down and he's giving back. It's one of the two things. It's helping mental health, which is quite a big thing, as well as it's helping the economy by creating jobs. Because now it's evolved where he's got this business plan of a workout, but then there's obviously an aspect of people needing water or whatever. So now he's creating a job for someone to sell water at the site. He's creating a job for a photographer to take pictures and capture that, And then at the fourth thing is that food vendors can create food for people when they finish their workout. So do you see the element of creating, it's just a simple workout with a group of people, but then there's 4 elements of a job creation created.
I understand that. Nwabisa, one thing that I would like to add on here is this is one person that you gave an example of. So if we all together start thinking that way, we can create more and more opportunities. But unfortunately, we don't think that way. I mean, we've got a lot of topics to talk about. That okay, there is unemployment going on. We do play blame games. We blame the government here. In my country or other countries that I've been speaking to people. So we easily, want a soft corner, basically. We are finding shortcuts. Not everyone, of course. I mean, people are also working hard. But one main thing that you discuss here is that, let's, for example, talking about, the aspect of social media, it has influenced people in a number of ways. I mean, today, if you and me, we guys are connected, it is because of social media, because it has 100%. Made it easier for, not just in our own country, but across the borders, you've got opportunities. So if you've got immense talent, if you've got immense opportunities, internet, I'm pretty sure a lot of people these days can actually get access to. It's not a hard thing. You can sit in a cafeteria, you can ask them for a Wi-Fi password, and you can just get connected and then start off, exploring things. And they're not going to ask you for leaving if you just, ask them for a cup of coffee or anything like that. So we can afford that. I'll be very honest. This isn't something that's not within our reach. We can do that, definitely. But yes, I agree with the idea that, I mean, if, people can actually invest on this free Wi-Fi thing as well, this would help. I mean, here in my country,
Mm.
we guys had this initiative taken by the government, and they actually, created few spots in which people could actually just stand and, use that Wi-Fi access. And then they started
100.
off providing laptops to students as well who are good in studies and stuff. So these are initiatives that I really would appreciate, when it comes to people who are doing these things. But fortunately or unfortunately, still, you mentioned one thing, that there is a huge rate of unemployment. I'm not going to call it
Mm.
highest. Why? Because if South Africa has unemployment, same as the situation in Pakistan, same as it's going in Europe, just go ahead and study the news and you'd get to see that inflation is on
Mm.
peak. Dollar is actually, on peak. The petrol prices, they're on peak everywhere. So what do you think in this certain time where there's a lot of chaos going on, people are not able to actually sustain properly, meeting both ends, and nobody's getting luxury anymore. It's
Mm.
getting tougher and tougher to actually afford those things. On one hand, we have all this technology, but on the other hand,
Mm.
do you think it's because we're not utilizing it in the right way? Or what would you like to add on? What are the pros and the cons? And what do you think should be the best way to utilize this thing so that we guys can come up with more and more entrepreneurs in the society? That's my question.
I think, I don't know. A part of me says, like, if we start having the right people in the right conversations, I think we as a society are built on I can learn so much from the average man on the street
Mhm.
than learning from a very educated people. I think we need to step out of the mindset
I
of
cannot agree
I'm not
more.
taking it away.
Very good thing. A very good point. Yeah.
I'm not taking away that being educated is a thing, but I want you to know that that is not the be all or the end all to you. You can be educated and you could know a lot on the book, but you cannot be street smart enough to know. And imagine the power of a street smart person to an educated person. You create something that is magnificent. I'm going to make an example of myself. I have tried to do my studies in a couple of things. I mean, I started off in I think I started off doing media, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted. Then I ended up doing economics. Then I moved from economics to business management, and now I ended up in HR,
Yeah.
just so that I can get my diploma or whatever. And still, when I was doing these things, I still realized I'm not fit. I'm not. This is not resonating to what I want to do and who I am. And I still am suffering to complete studies, or I get frustrated with studies because when I'm there, the argument I have with what I'm studying is, but this is outdated because when I'm sitting on reality, it's not the same concept.
Mm.
I struggle with that because and maybe that's another side conversation. But what I'm saying is that we should not take away your average person who knows stuff. And I think they bring the wrong people in the conversation. You can have two or three skilled people to have conversations around how do we solve something, and have an added extra of an average man whose reality is that and what they wake up to that reality, because you can sit in a boardroom easy, come up with a solution, but it's actually not your reality. So
Yeah.
again, I get very griped off when people in high power places and they're speaking and they say things, and I say to myself, did you actually sit in there? Have you been there? Have you sat in a spot and actually witnessed this for yourself? Or is this someone in your rooms just said to you, or feedback that you've heard from someone? And that is my challenge. If you're in leadership or in power, you should actually just walk in the feet of the person you want to assist. And I think the group of social being of the people I'm at, there are highly educated people that I'm with in this group of. It's a rugby club. It's called Umumbo, and I'm in
Okay.
this group of people. We are catalysts to transformation in sport and in just general South Africa and the youth. And we believe in giving back with what we've got and the privileges of schools that we've gone to, or and also what we have in resources. So we give back to our community. We were self-funded before, but we give it all. Those guys in the team are very educated. These guys are gone to your best universities and
Mm.
women. They've gone
Mm.
to your Rhodes universities, your UCTs, your everything in those
And they're
spheres.
helping people out, which is the best
And they're
part.
helping people, yeah. But when you sit with those people, you don't feel like you are uneducated, because I am in a school, I went to a
A
varsity that
very great
is not,
example. They don't let you feel that way. They give you confidence. They give you the power to speak up and, you know, raise your voice, which is really important. Go
yes,
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
and give you the credibility that your thinking or your thought is something that they wouldn't have heard in the boardroom somewhere. You're
Yeah.
giving them the reality. I mean, I think I need to thank and one thing I also did for myself is to get myself a mentor. I was fortunate to identify this person, and I think for me, you also need to a little bit know who you are, right? A little bit of your traits. So
Mm.
my traits, I know I'm very dominant as a person. I've got a very dominant
You've got a
personality. And how
leadership
do
personality. You can be a good leader. I mean, but
I don't know about
dominance is
leadership
something that could be
yeah,
positive and could be negative as
it
well.
does be
But
negative. Yeah,
but it
yeah.
could be
So
positive in a way that if you're dominant, you know how to lead people. Dominance does not mean that
yes,
you are supposed to be aggressive. Dominant means that you can
yeah,
actually raise your voice. You can actually control people by
yes. So
even loving them and by providing love and care. I mean, it could be
and
like,
that's the thing. And,
yeah,
and and I think I'm like that, but then when someone else interacts with me, they're not getting that. So I identified myself as, I can't, people are not relating to who I am when I'm in those spaces. When
yeah.
I identified my he's more of a mentor or someone that I speak to who's guiding me with this. And when I interacted with him, I realized that there's things that humble you, because he taught me a lot. I mean, growing up in South Africa, I grew, my parents, I was born in a hospital in a township, but I left when I was very young, and we got to move into the suburbs, where I never got to, we used to go back to the townships on a weekends to family, but my reality was to live in the suburbs in a picket fenced area. Everything was great, but
Mm.
I would not, and it was also, my parents made us, protect us to not go back and go like, you don't, there's an expectation or societal view of, you can't go and chill. If you've moved in the suburbs, you've moved up, so you can't go and chill in the townships. But actually you're removing yourself from your reality and your people and what they need and what you're creating wherever you are in the spaces of creating needs for them and solving for the unemployment. And this mentor of mine always is always around in that space. We
See,
would go
that's a
into that
blessing
spaces.
itself. I mean, you've got a good mentor, you
Exactly.
know, and I
You
think
you're
people can find
hearing that.
mentors easily. I mean, it could be your best friend, it could be someone near to you, it could be your neighbor, it could be your mom or dad. You know,
Mm,
so one thing that I'd like to add here is now, okay, we guys did discuss about entrepreneurship, helping people out and all that. But there's one more thing that globally I think is a problem that's going on, and that is lack of career counseling. Uh,
yeah.
People, they just jump and they just rush into things without even knowing what the impact is going to be. I mean, I understand that there comes a certain age where you're supposed to explore yourself, where you're supposed to explore your inner capabilities. That's high school, that's
Mm,
fine, but you should also know what your interest is. I mean, for example, if I'm a guy who likes to speak, you know, you can see I'm doing podcasts, I like to speak, this is my interest, nobody's paying me for it,
mm,
I'm just doing it for a
mm,
social cause, right? Because I'm interested
yeah.
in it, right? So this
Yeah.
is fulfilling my internal need of the fact that I want to do this in my life, apart from
Mm,
whatever I'm doing. And maybe you never know, down the road in coming years, I just make this as my career. Are you trying to
yeah.
relate? And with this, I would be helping people with my
Mm,
skill. I would be
mm,
satisfying myself. And eventually
mm.
I would give something to the economy in the end as well. Why? Because I'm going to go ahead and, you know, educate
Create a
people, and there
business.
would be
Yeah.
create a business, entrepreneurs would come. So where do you think, how can we fulfill the gap of this lack of career counseling? I mean, there is a huge amount of effort that we guys need to put on it. Unfortunately, a lot of
So
institutes are not focusing on it. What do you think about it?
so I'll make an example of myself. So
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm going to start off about myself. For instance, with myself, I was in a good school, in a Model C school. Shout out to Hudson Park in East London, and they had a career guidance lady who got there. I think in 2006 was my matric year, 2005. There were a lot of things that they didn't know or understand that are career-wise out there. When that lady spoke to us about careers, the only things that she could mention to us was a lawyer, to study law, to study about all the conventional, or being a doctor and one. But she never spoke about being in marketing, or being in or being an HR person.
Arts. Yeah.
Yes, I never spoke about the arts. She never spoke about things that are the whole
Being a
time there was a whole.
journalist, being into
Yes,
hotel industry, being in customer
yes,
support. Yeah.
yes, because a hotel industry person can actually earn the same amount of a person who's in a corporate. But
Of
those are
course.
the things that were not educated, and then you found yourself lost in the system, which is one of me. Is that I've got so much things that touch on a lot of bases. I am a very I'm an outspoken. I'm a creative by nature, but then yet I have a personality of. I can also be administrative and a little bit in the back end. And only now in my adulthood, now I'm now 34, I'm finding something that I'm saying, okay, cool. I wish I would have got this earlier on, because then I would have invested if I knew there was such a role that is called sponsorships in sports sponsorships and events. If I knew there was such a thing, then I would have worked towards it. But it was never spoken about or never known. And I think out there's so many things, but you don't know where. I don't know. I wish there was a digital library that could be created for a person to go in and do a test, like do a little test that says these are the possibilities, these are your personalities, and take it there. If that could be provided to kids and
Amazing
generally
idea.
to anybody, because
Yeah.
also where your mindset is at the time evolves. I think I have evolved 5 times in my lifetime. I was once upon a time when I left school, I was in the hotel space, working in hospitality space. I worked at one of the top hotels. I also worked for an events company, then
Okay.
moved into corporate, and that was, so there's a lot that could happen for a person to go there.
I totally second your thought. So yeah, one thing that I really liked is that you should create a test in which you can, assess personality and the credibility of that person, or for example. But I think that would come up when we're gonna start working on that. When we're gonna start, creating an atmosphere in which people are gonna, just be easy about choosing their careers, because we've created a lot of tension. We've created a lot of fear factor theory in our minds that, okay, if you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer, what are you going to do in your life? Especially that is why mostly my focus is not those people who are already doing amazing in their lives. I am
Mm,
targeting that class, like you, me, people who are actually working somewhere, people who are running a small or medium business, right? I'm not targeting
mm,
business tycoons, even though I would do it in future as well, because they also came up with a basic idea. But I think we need to
mm.
come up with these kind of people. You've got a certain ability, you're outspoken, I can speak. Just imagine, one thing that I've written down here is that right people in right conversation. Similarly,
Yeah,
right person for the right job. Are you getting my point?
yeah,
So this is the
correct.
gap that we need to fill. And I think this would be the best way to come up with entrepreneurship, and it's going to help our economy like anything. I'm going to give you an
Yeah.
example here now. We went to a school in this country, and
Mm,
there was a batch of 35 students. So I asked
yeah,
2 students to stand up from the front and 2 from the back. So I
yeah,
asked them, okay, who's the best in handwriting? 2 actually, they were like this. And I was like, okay, you guys stand up. And the other 2 at the back, they said that we are not good in handwriting. So I asked them, what do you think? Where can you guys help each other? I mean, it's a very basic and simple thing. The people, like, those students who are good in, handwriting, they can actually help the other students out in their free time. For example, if I'm good in
mm,
communication, I can help a colleague of mine, or I can help someone else. So why don't we
correct.
do this thing in our free time? Why don't we try to utilize our
Collaborate and
collaborate within our own society? Because
yeah,
there's one thing, you know why? Let me answer that as well. Because we are always focused on payoffs. That, okay, if I'm not going to get
yeah,
paid for that, why should I do that? think out of the
And it's the
box.
social
Yeah.
norm. It's the social norms that have been brought, like you mentioned earlier on. They created such barriers that a lawyer doesn't see the point of him talking to another person in another atmosphere. But no, actually, there are roles. You don't have to be a lawyer that goes to a court. There are roles in corporate that you find that actually need a lawyer to assist on, especially like in compliance, etc. Those are the things that people don't. A lawyer can assist a person to understand those things, and if we collaborate as people and help people, I think it would make it work. Like you said earlier on, collaboration is key. Like, I'm, for instance, currently we collaborating with a brand that is we amplifying this brand in the stadiums, and giving some brand presence when getting it to the development of people, and helping this brand connect with your average consumer, or not even your average, but any consumer, from your low end to your high end, that can be relatable. And there's only one thing that relates them in South Africa, and that's rugby, right?
Mm.
So
Nelson
it's easy
Mandela.
and
Yeah,
relatable.
I remember there was a movie that I was watching, and I mean, there's one leader that,
Invictus,
yeah,
Invictus,
Invictus. It was an amazing
yes,
movie. It was an amazing movie. People know Nelson. We need to create those kind of leaders, like Nelson
yeah,
Mandela at that time. He went through a lot of bad situation in his journey, but he never gave up. Similarly, in US, there was a leader, Martin Luther King Jr. In Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. I don't know if you've heard about him,
mm,
but he was the one who was
yeah,
who founded Pakistan. Similarly, in
mm.
India, it's Gandhi. So talking about these leaders, I mean, if you go and read their autobiography, you would get to know these things. My point again, I mean, coming towards the end of the conversation, is one, and that is, I think no one should lack, the facility of having water, of having
Mm,
3 times food a day, and
mm,
basic necessities. Because as a
mm.
human, my heart craves inside when I see people in different countries not having food. I think we are
And
lacking here.
ow,
We are lacking here. I would blame humanity for that. Why? Because there are a lot of rich people who can easily provide 3 times of food to people out there who are not able to afford. Because if they won't be able to eat food, how would they be able to go ahead and choose their careers? How would
and
they
you
be able
mentioned
to? Yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned this, the free laptop and free Wi-Fi situation that is given and provided. In
yeah.
South Africa, we have a challenge where you offer free education to a child who's brilliant, but this child is not getting a meal 3 times the meals every day. So the
What's the
bursary,
point?
let's
What's
say,
the point?
exactly. What is so there are things that are also hindering that the basic thing to a human. Again, it goes with the out touch. Some people are giving away free things like a company will come in and say, I'm donating laptops to the school. But actually, when you are giving a laptop to the school, anybody can give a laptop to the school to kids,
Mm,
right? But
mm.
are these kids getting is where does it end? You need to have a start and a finish. These kids, when they finish with the laptops, are they fed? Are they understanding what
Yeah.
they are
Are they going
getting?
to
And
utilize it
and
in a
is
positive
it
manner,
exactly, and also you're giving a hungry child a laptop to use. What in what basis is
He or
this?
she is going to just
Do
go ahead
you
and sell it in the market and get some money and just feed.
Yes, because and I don't blame them because why? They are hungry. I would do that. So when
You might have
I get
studied
very
Maslow hierarchy theory. I don't know if you know about it.
yeah,
The
yes,
basic
yes,
need
yes,
is
I did.
food, water, and
Food,
shelter. So one thing
correct.
is, I just don't get. I mean, if I have, billions of dollars in my account, the very first thing that I would do, I'll be very, very honest about it. I'm not even kidding, because even from the amount that I get these days, I try to help as much
Mm,
people as I can. I mean, I
mm.
cannot see people not having food. I don't know if people have this kind of stone heart. I don't know if they're stone hearted. That's wrong.
I think I think and I agree with you. I think it goes with a lot of people. Like I I also thought sometimes when I see people who are hungry and whatever, I always thought the solution is just to feed them. And again, my mentor stepped in to say, as much as you can give them the food, but that ends today. You need to help a person to empower them for them to be
100%, 100%.
for the long term.
Educate
It means
them.
no
Don't make them
value.
puppets.
No,
Yeah. Don't
yes,
make them
don't make,
puppets.
don't
Yeah.
don't donate food for the sake of, oh yeah, we donated and fed them. You donate to people and you feed them today. Tomorrow, what are they going to do? Right? Or the
Yeah.
next day, or the next week, or
They
we've
should
got
have the
a lovely
eagerness to
initiative.
go ahead and stand up on their own feet.
Yes,
You know, that's
I
one.
love it.
Yeah.
I love the concept, and it's actually Mandela Month in South Africa right now, where that
Mhm.
means you have to give 60 minutes to, on Mandela's birthday, you actually give 60 minutes to give back. It should be in South Africa, not even that 60 minutes should be that day that you ignited to do something, but it should be a continuous in your life, right? You should be giving back. And I understand that people, sometimes your cup is not full to be giving back. But however, if you are not full and you're giving back, somehow ignites something to make you feel better. I make an example of me. COVID was rough. COVID was rough for everybody, but I got, what took me out of the dark of COVID was to assist and help out during COVID any way I could.
Likewise. Likewise.
I
Agreed.
think for me, in any initiative or in anything people ask me to, it made me feel better as a person. I mean, there's a boy who made a video and said he needs that is on my social media, who needed funding for his for him to go on tour. He's been chosen, I actually went to that school, and I said approach the family, and I said to the sister, listen, I actually was a 2006 person. I was in the class in 2006 of the school. Can I take the video and pass it to the networks that I know? And I approached a lot of people, and I said to them, listen, this boy is just needing a tour. 100 Rand, with a basic 100 Rand to give back to this boy would do so wonders to get him there and empower.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
I also said, and I took key individuals that I knew, and I said, can you mentor him? It mustn't end here. He needs a mentor, and can you mentor him and bring him closer to you? Because
Nwabisa, yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story, and we're gonna continue that. But we just have like a couple of seconds left because I would have to hop on another, interview soon. It was really nice having you in the session today, and we would definitely continue that as well. So guys, you can subscribe us on Youth Alumni Association. Thank you so much, and take care of yourself, Nwabisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.